Hi guys, welcome to Manhood Explained. My name is Camille and today is 5th of February 2020. Welcome to live number 40. And today we're going to talk about a subject that I just cannot stop thinking about. And we're going to talk about how it is possible that, this thing happened, that you end up in a relationship that, that she's screaming at you, that you're screaming at her, that you cannot make it work, that she's starting to abusing you verbally, that she's starting to abusing you physically even, and she's trashing the place, like in this case of Johnny Depp. I just cannot stop thinking about it. So we're going to talk about how to not end up in pathological relationship. When I thought about it, and I spent some time kind of really trying to understand what is the reason why did all and well, many of us end up like this. I started to think that there are two kind of the different levels or different time frames that we need to look at all of this. First of all is what has to happen before you end up in a relationship, when you're looking for someone, which leads to you getting into their relationship. What has to happen there that you end up in this kind of pathological relationship? And then second the time frame is when you end up in a relationship, and most of us start this whole thing, being in love and everything is so beautiful and awesome, and then it all crashes, crashes and burns in time. And those two time frames, you have to look like through the lenses of one very simple thing. What is your standard? What is your level of expectation that you have? And this is interesting because you've got to know that I was raised in a Christian family, and I've got a long history with Protestant church, and I've had this very strong moral backbone and so on. So my view is be kind of extreme, but interestingly enough, it will show you what is the result of it. Because you see, when I was looking for a wife, this is exactly what I told my best friend when we were starting high school, and we sat together for 4 or 5 years in the same desk, and we became really good friends. And I told him from the beginning, listen, mate, the first girlfriend that I will ever have, she'll be my wife. And this is exactly what happened. This is exactly what I did. I tried to look for the girl that I really wanted to be with, not someone that just could hook up with. And interestingly enough, very soon it pushed me towards realizing what do I really want. And as I told you in previous lives, I wanted a girl who was the best around in intelligence and in spirituality. There were two things that I really wanted to have. And I got it. And until today it works because this baseline is very strong until today. And now when I see what happened in some other cases of my friends, I remember one of my friends, we talked in on one of the parties, and we started talking about building a relationship and parties and all those things. And I remember asking him and talking about what's his approach and so on. And he told me that he always was looking for a girl to hook up with on this kind of parties. And I told him, have you ever tried to go for a party and look for someone new, someone that you didn't knew before, someone that you could just meet, and someone valuable, someone really interesting, and just spend time talking with them, becoming friends, just like this, without no expectations, no hooking up, no this kind of stuff, just meeting someone new. You know what he told me? I never thought about it. And I was like, this is why it doesn't work in your case, in many other cases. Because look what we do, especially now when we push this agenda that you can sleep with everyone. It's like this whole thing all over again. We've seen that in 60s. We push this whole thing again, and then we end up treating everything like, nah, it's not a big deal, right? You sleep today with this one, tomorrow with that one, and then this whole thing is sleeping with other people is normal. So then what do you think is going to happen when you try to be in a relationship and stay there? Do you really think that just one day you're just going to switch it off, that you're going to stop sleep with other people, that you're going to forget about this whole experience, that you're not going to compare the person that you're with to so many others that you've been with, that you're just going to now from this day on you're going to start treating everything seriously? Really? That's why if you go that route, you're gonna pay the price. That's why so many of you are having issues with dealing with the relationships, just because, if you end up together just because you've been half drunk or half stoned, you end up sleeping together. So every cards are already on the table, and then you just end up in a relationship. So then it's not surprising. It's not surprised that 3 months into relationship, you stop caring, and you kind of real nastiness kind of sees the light of day. And then it just tells you a lot what kind of standards you have, because whether this person was crazy all along and you didn't see that, and you just end up together just because you've been half drunk, and then she or he is just showing his or her real face, or I don't know what have to happen. Your standard was really low. So I'm saying over and over to anyone who I talk with about building a relationship: raise the standard. I don't want to be this person who just says this whole moral song, but look what it brings. Try to not do it for quite some time. See how much you lose, how much you're not getting from building a relationship with people. Friendship now is one of the most underappreciated things I ever seen. You don't know doesn't mean friendship, because I can see my friends 10, 15 years younger, when they go to a party, they have drunk like in 30 minutes after the party starts, and what they do, they're just this sleazy, and everybody touching its themselves. It all goes towards kissing, and basically end up sleeping with each other. You don't know the person and just going right into it. Raise the standard, because if you do what everybody does, you will end up having what everybody has. And most of the people now are having trouble with building long-lasting relationship. So maybe what we do before is the reason why we're having issues after we end up in a relationship. Think about it and raise your standard. And second, if you're already in a relationship, one of the major things that I see is lack of ability to respect yourselves. I'm not even talking about how is that even possible that you as a guy, you are abused by your girl, especially physically. I don't get it. Maybe because I had this experience with martial arts, but listen, if you need to just go and find a school of martial arts, they'll teach you how to build your muscles, how to raise your your physicality. I'd never had any girl raise her hand against me. Never. Excluding the girls who were fighting with me on our training lessons. Or kudos and respect to them. They know what they're doing, and I love being fighting with them. But in a real life, got a problems? Go to the gym. Find someone who will help you build your physique. If you're just this person who's just asked to be beaten, feel like a man. But second, the very important thing, you will lack ability to respect yourselves. Because look what happens if you see a relationship when she's trashing the place, throwing plates on the floor against the wall. What would have to happen? What is the level of respect? Zero. If you're beating your girl, your level of respect, zero. And this is exactly what happens when we start building a relationship. We are in love. Brilliant. We have so much respect. We're going to do everything for each other. And then a year later, people who are completely in love end up completely hating each other and not respecting each other. You see what I'm saying? This whole thing is about you being able to raise this hygiene of your relationship, and you never allow yourself to disrespect your partner. Period. Because if you do this, if you let your relationship be this thing that you just take for granted, she's always going to be here, he's always going to be here, then you're going to treat her as a pal. She never was, and she never supposed to be your pal. Because if you start treat her as a pal, or him as a pal, you'll treat each other as we do when we are pals. You're going to start arguing, you start using curse each other, and you start to complain at each other, especially in public. That's going to be perfect way to build your relationship. And then you'll end up arguing and going full on aggressive and accusing each other of anything, and just then, well, it's gonna break. It's obvious. So you've got to understand the problem with the relationship is not when you end up the relationship screaming at each other and hating each other, but the moment you start disrespecting each other, your relationship is done already. Done, my friend. So that's why, even this is what I want you to understand from this video. Whether you are in before and you're starting to look for someone to build your relationship, or whether you're in, raise the standard. Don't be like everyone else. Raise the standard. Especially if you're a girl, raise the standard. Exactly what happens right now, it's you, ladies, lowering the expectations, lowering the standard. What my wife's grandma, she's not with us anymore. I love her so much. She always said, when woman is not gonna give, the guy will not take. Will not take. You know what I'm saying? That you are the ones who are dictating where we're gonna go. But now it's not a problem. Raise the standard. So going back to men, because this is what I would do is directly towards men, really. I want you to understand and take this from this video. Raise the standard. And as I told you in previous lives, if you haven't watched them, go back and watch them again. It's all about you raising the standard, you leading by example. Because then when you lead by example, you are able to demand it from her. And it's all about not screaming at her, not to scream at you, because that's completely nonsense. But you want to be able to say, listen, do you really want me to treat you as you're treating me? And you say, oh, this is, you're a wuss, you're just, being nice. No, tell me, what is harder to do? To scream at someone just because you're angry? Or just, lower your emotions and say something that she knows that you're right? Think about it. You will have to raise the standard because you are the leader. You are building the relationship. So lead by example. Because then you're putting her in a position that she knows that she'll have to, level up. She'll have to ramp up the game, to step up, to have the same level of respect to you as you have to her. And then you'll never end up in a relationship. They'll end up like this case, Johnny Depp, when she's trashing the place and screaming at him. So, think about it. Raise the level, lead by example. Think about it, and raise the bar. And see you tomorrow.